In 2008, the average millionaire lost 23% of their wealth in the crash. But you know what happened to the ultra-rich? They got 17% richer. What did they know that everyone else didn't? If you've ever wondered why market crashes seem to annihilate middle-class portfolios, while the wealthy walk away completely unscathed, some even richer than before, you're about to find out their exact playbook. And I've got to warn you, what you're about to learn goes against everything your financial advisor has probably told you. Let's start with rule number 1 in the wealthy person's crash playbook. They don't buy and hold. That's advice designed to keep you calm and compliant while your money evaporates. Let me tell you about Sarah Chen. She's 52, an accountant from Ohio, did everything right, maxed out her 401k, diversified portfolio, listened to her advisor. When the 2020 crash hit in March, her portfolio started bleeding. She panicked, called her advisor. You know what he said? Don't panic, Sarah. Ride it out. Time in the market beats timing the market. So she held and watched $180,000 disappear in 6 weeks. Here's the kicker. Her college roommate, who now manages a hedge fund in New York, lost nothing during that same crash. Actually made money. Sarah finally worked up the courage to ask her, "What are you doing that I'm not?" And that question changed everything. A 2021 Yale study analyzed 50,000 portfolios during market crashes, and here's what they found. People who followed traditional stay-the-course advice took an average of 4.2 years to recover their losses. The top 1% recovered in 8 months. Why? Because you've been playing a rigged game. The buy and hold forever advice works great for the people selling you investments and collecting fees whether you make money or not. So, what was her friend doing? It starts with understanding one psychological trick the wealthy exploit that nobody talks about. Most people think cash is trash during inflation, right? The wealthy know it's actually a weapon. When the 2008 financial crisis hit, Warren Buffett was sitting on $44 billion in cash. Everyone on Wall Street called him crazy. You're missing all the gains in 2007, Warren. You're losing to inflation. Then the market collapsed, and Buffett went shopping. Bought blue-chip companies for pennies on the dollar. Let me introduce you to David Ortega, a 47-year-old real estate investor from Arizona. In March 2020, he did something his friends thought was insane. He sold 2 of his rental properties and held 60% of his net worth in cash. His buddies mocked him. "Dude, you're losing to inflation. The market's at all-time highs." David stayed quiet. Waited. By May 2020, the real estate market in Phoenix had cratered. Panicked investors were dumping properties. David bought 3 foreclosed properties for 40 cents on the dollar. Today, those properties are worth $2.1 million. His friends who mocked him? Still trying to refinance underwater mortgages. An MIT Sloan study from 2019 tracked 12,000 investors across 3 separate market crashes. And here's what they discovered. Investors holding 30 to 40% cash reserves before crashes outperformed fully invested portfolios by 34% over the following 5 years. Think about that. They made more money by not being fully invested. You don't need millions to do this. Start building what I call a crash fund, separate from your emergency savings. Target 20 to 30% of your investable assets in high-yield savings accounts. Right now, you can get 4 to 5% interest. When the crash comes, and it will come, you'll have dry powder while everyone else is broke and terrified. But here's the part that'll actually shock you. Cash is only the beginning. The wealthy have a second move that sounds illegal, but isn't. What if I told you the wealthy actually beat it on crashes, and it's completely legal? They use something called inverse positions. When the market drops 10%, they make 10%. Sometimes more. Meet Lisa Tran. She's 39, an elementary school teacher who got interested in investing during the pandemic. By 2022, inflation was surging, and she kept hearing economists warning about a recession. So Lisa did something her teacher friends thought was crazy. She put 15% of her portfolio into inverse ETFs. These are funds that rise when the market falls. Her co-workers laughed. "Lisa, you're betting against America? That's unpatriotic." Then 2022 happened. The S&P 500 dropped 18% that year. Tech stocks got demolished. Her co-workers' 401k statements? Blood red. Lisa's inverse positions? Up 19%. While everyone around her was panicking, checking their accounts daily, losing sleep, Lisa's portfolio stayed green. The University of Chicago did a study in 2020 analyzing hedge fund strategies during market downturns. Funds using inverse hedging reduced their portfolio volatility by 47% and outperformed traditional portfolios by 22% during crash years. And here's the beautiful part. You don't need to be a hedge fund to do this. Inverse ETFs like SH, that's the inverse S&P 500, or PSQ, the inverse NASDAQ, are available to anyone with a basic brokerage account. Start small. Put 5 to 10% of your portfolio into these as crash insurance. But there's a trap here most beginners fall into that can absolutely wipe you out. These funds decay over time if you hold them too long. Think of inverse ETFs like fire insurance. You want it before the fire starts, and you cancel it when the danger passes. They're not buy and hold investments. They're tactical protection. Okay, so you've got cash, you've got downside protection. But there's a third strategy the ultra-wealthy use that doesn't even involve the stock market. While everyone's panicking about their portfolios, the wealthy are quietly buying things that can't be printed, inflated away, or hacked. During the 2008 crash, gold rose 25%, while the S&P 500 fell 38%. In 2020's crash, Bitcoin initially dropped with everything else, then surged 300% within a year, while stocks took 18 months just to recover. Let me tell you about Marcus Williams. He's 55 now, a former engineer from Nashville. Back in 2019, he made a decision that seemed old-fashioned to his tech bro friends. He allocated 25% of his portfolio to physical gold and farmland, not actual farms, but farmland REITs. His friends were buying Tesla and crypto. "Marcus, you sound like a prepper, man. Gold? Farmland? Okay, boomer." But Marcus had a reason. His grandfather lost everything in the Great Depression. Everything, holding only stocks and bonds. Marcus's dad drilled one lesson into him from childhood. Own things people will always need. Food, shelter, and money they can't print more of. Fast forward to 2020 through 2022. Inflation surge. Supply chain chaos. His farmland REITs, up 41%. Gold, up 18%. His neighbor who'd gone all in on tech stocks. Watching his portfolio swing wildly, ending the period down 12% overall. Harvard Business Review published a study in 2023 examining 100 years of economic crashes. Portfolios with 20 to 30% allocated to hard assets, gold, commodities, real estate, experienced 56% less volatility and recovered 31% faster than pure stock and bond portfolios. You don't need to bury gold bars in your backyard. Start simple. VNQ. That's Vanguard's real estate ETF. GLD, a gold ETF. Or even I-bonds. Those are inflation-protected government bonds. Aim for 15 to 25% of your portfolio in these assets. When paper money gets shaky, hard assets hold their value. But even this isn't the final secret. There's one more strategy that separates the ultra-rich from everyone else, and this one's pure genius. The wealthy don't just protect their money during crashes, they actually pay less in taxes because of them. It's called tax loss harvesting, and it's the reason billionaires can have terrible years on paper but still come out ahead. Jennifer Park, 44. Small business owner in Seattle. 2022 was brutal for her. Her investment portfolio dropped $95,000. She was devastated. Felt like a failure. Then her CPA showed her something she'd never heard of. Jennifer, you can sell these losing positions, claim the loss against your taxes, and immediately buy similar, not identical assets to stay invested. You turn the loss into a tax advantage. Here's what Jennifer did. She harvested that $95,000 loss. The IRS lets you deduct $3,000 per year against ordinary income. So that's $3,000 off her tax bill that year. The remaining $92,000 carried forward to offset future capital gains. Over the next 5 years, as the market recovered and she took profits, that $92,000 in carried losses saved her $31,000 in taxes she would have paid on those gains. She turned a crash into a tax break. Stanford Graduate School of Business did a study in 2022. Tax loss harvesting adds an average of 1.2% in annual returns to portfolios over 10-year periods. For a $500,000 portfolio, that's $6,000 a year in added value. Most major brokers, Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, offer free tax loss harvesting tools now. Or you can use robo-advisors like Betterment or Wealthfront that do it automatically. The key rule: the wash sale rule. You can't buy the exact same stock within 30 days of selling it. But you can buy something similar. Sold Apple? Buy a tech ETF. Sold an S&P 500 fund? Buy a total market fund. You're staying invested while gaming the tax code, legally. It's one of those things that sounds too good to be true, but the wealthy have been doing it for decades. All right, you've got 5 strategies now. But here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to talk about. The biggest question everyone asks: when do you actually do this? Because getting the timing wrong could cost you more than doing nothing at all. Here's the honest reality. Even the wealthy don't time crashes perfectly. What they do instead is use what I call a gradual shift system. Morningstar analyzed 40 years of market data in 2021, and here's what they found. Investors who shifted their portfolios gradually over 6 to 12 months before obvious crash signals outperformed panic sellers by 89%. They also outperformed people who never adjusted at all by 23%. So here's the practical framework. When the market hits all-time highs repeatedly and economic warning signs appear, inverted yield curves, rising unemployment, inflation spikes, start shifting 5% of your portfolio monthly into cash, inverse positions, or hard assets. You're not going all in on doom. You're building protection gradually. When the crash actually happens, deploy that cash in increments. Don't blow your whole load at once. Buy in 10% chunks as the market drops. First 10% at minus 20%, next 10% at minus 30%, and so on. When recovery clearly begins, you'll know because fear turns to cautious optimism. Scale back your crash protection and redeploy into growth assets. This isn't about being a genius. It's about being systematic while everyone else is emotional. You don't need to call the bottom perfectly. You just need to be positioned better than the herd. And that brings me to the real secret, the one that matters more than any strategy. Here's the real secret. The wealthy protect their money during crashes because they've trained themselves to think differently about them. While everyone else sees crashes as disasters, they see sales. While you're paralyzed by fear, they're shopping with a list. Robert Chen, 62, retired executive. During the 2008 crash, he was actually excited. His wife thought he'd lost his mind. The market was in free fall. Their neighbors were in tears, and Robert was smiling. His reasoning? Everything I wanted to own was suddenly 40% off. It was Black Friday for assets. The Behavioral Economics Journal published a study in 2020 that analyzed 8,000 investors' emotional responses during market crashes. Those who viewed downturns as opportunities rather than losses, made 3.2 times better investment decisions, and recovered their portfolios 67% faster than those who panicked. It's not about being cold or greedy. It's about reprogramming your emotional response to volatility. Here's how you train yourself now, before the next crash. Write down 10 assets you wish you owned but think are too expensive. Could be stocks, real estate, commodities, whatever. When they drop 30% or more, that's your buy signal. You remove emotion and follow the list. The wealthy aren't smarter than you. They've just trained themselves to be greedy when others are fearful. So let me bring this all together. We've covered 5 concrete strategies: strategic cash reserves, inverse positions for downside protection, hard assets that hold value, tax loss harvesting to turn losses into advantages, and gradual timing to avoid panic moves. But here's what really matters, and this is the part that might make you angry. The system isn't designed for regular people to know this stuff.
Financial advisors make money when you stay invested, not when you protect yourself. That's why they preach time in the market, even when the ship is taking on water. They get paid on assets under management. Your losses? That's your problem. I'm not saying all advisors are bad. I'm saying their incentives aren't aligned with yours during crashes. You now know what took me years to learn and cost me over $200,000 to figure out the hard way. You don't need to be wealthy to use these strategies. You just need to be willing to think like the wealthy do. Look at every major crash in history: 1929, 1987, 2000, 2008, 2020. After every single one, the wealth gap widened. Not because the rich were lucky, because they knew these rules. So, here's my question for you. If you know these 5 strategies before the 2020 crash, how different would your financial life be right now? Really think about that. And here's the bigger question. Are you willing to prepare now, even if your friends and family call you paranoid? Or are you going to wait until the next crash happens and wish you had? Drop your honest answer in the comments. No judgment. I want to know where your head's at. And if you want to know the exact percentage breakdown I personally use for these strategies, how much cash, how much inverse, how much hard assets, let me know below. If enough people ask, I'll make a follow-up video breaking down my actual portfolio allocation, step by step. Here's the thing. The next crash isn't a question of if, it's a question of when. And when it comes, you'll either be ready or you'll be another cautionary tale. The choice is yours.